Have you ever felt the overwhelming urge to grip the steering wheel of your life so tightly that your knuckles turn white, convinced that your control alone is the only thing standing between you and chaos? From a young age, we are taught that control is the ultimate form of safety, the armor that will shield us from the unpredictable storms of existence. We believe that if we can meticulously plan every day, predict others' behavior, and force our grandest plans into a rigid timeline, we will unlock calm, security, and the peace of knowing we're on the right path. We build our lives like fortresses, constructing walls of expectations and moats of micromanagement, convinced these defenses will protect us. But what if I told you that this fortress is not a sanctuary but a prison? What if the very act of forcing outcomes, of trying to command the divine blueprint of your life, is creating a resistance that blocks the beautiful, soul-aligned outcomes you crave? If these words resonate with the quiet truth your soul has been trying to whisper, I invite you to drop a 777 in the comments below. Let us know we are not alone on this journey of awakening. And if you feel this shift beginning within you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, joining a community of souls learning to let go and align with their true destiny. Take a deep, honest look at your life. How often do you find yourself in a state of force? You force your body to be productive, pushing past the sacred signals of exhaustion until your spirit feels barren and depleted. You try to force a relationship that has lost its divine flow, attempting to piece together a connection that no longer resonates with your soul's frequency, leaving you with the hollow echo of what once was. You chase a version of success that society has scripted for you, climbing a ladder you believe will lead to fulfillment, only to realize deep down that it's leaning against the wrong wall, a wall that has nothing to do with your authentic self. This constant act of forcing, of pushing, of clinging is a state of spiritual friction. We grip, we micromanage, we strategize against the natural current of life, and yet the peace we seek remains elusive. The doors we desperately try to push open remain stubbornly shut. Life begins to feel like a relentless job interview for a position you're not even sure you want, a test you can't seem to pass no matter how hard you study the wrong material. You feel stuck, stagnant, and you wonder why your immense effort isn't yielding the results you were promised. The truth is, you are generating a powerful energy of resistance, and the universe, in its infinite wisdom, cannot deliver gifts to a closed fist. You are trying to command the wind, to dictate the tides, and in doing so, you are missing the profound power of learning to sail. But then, something miraculous happens. A shift begins to occur at the very moment you start to surrender. It's the moment you stop trying to force life to obey your ego's fragile timeline. When you stop grasping so tightly, when you finally unclench your spiritual fist, you create space. And in that sacred space, life finally has room to breathe. And when life breathes, it moves. Oh, how it moves. It begins to orchestrate a symphony on your behalf, a divine dance you were too busy controlling to even notice. It starts moving the right people into your orbit. Individuals who resonate with your true vibration and support your soul's journey. It begins to move obstacles out of your path, not by demolition, but by gently revealing a new, clearer route you hadn't considered. It moves clarity right in front of you, like a fog lifting to reveal a sun-drenched landscape you never knew existed. You suddenly see solutions where there were only problems, and opportunities where there were only dead ends. This isn't because you gave up, it's because you gave in to a higher intelligence. It's the moment you let go of the oars and trusted the current, only to find it was always taking you exactly where you needed to go. You must understand, there is a strange and beautiful intelligence at play in the background of your reality. Call it God, call it the universe, call it source energy, life force, the name is irrelevant, for its nature is the same. It is a loving, responsive consciousness that is in constant communication with you. However, it does not respond to your demands or your meticulously crafted 5-year plans. It doesn't check your to-do list or adhere to your schedule. It responds to your energy. It feels your vibration. It answers the frequency you are broadcasting into the cosmos. And when your energy is one of frantic control, of white-knuckled fear, it can only reflect back to you circumstances that validate that fear. It's a divine mirror. But when your energy says, I trust, when your soul releases its grip and settles into a state of faith, the universe begins to respond with experiences that prove that your trust was not foolish. It was the key. Life starts to bring you evidence of its support, synchronicities that feel like winks from the divine, and blessings that affirm you are held and guided. Your trust becomes the very magnet that pulls your desired reality towards you, not through force, but through resonant attraction. Here is a deeper truth that the world seldom teaches, a secret that can fundamentally alter your existence. Control is nothing more than a form of fear wearing the mask of responsibility. It is the ego's desperate attempt to build a predictable world in an inherently unpredictable and magical universe. It's a low vibrational state rooted in a belief in scarcity and separation. But trust true, soul-deep trust that is the highest form of freedom. And freedom is the frequency where everything you truly desire resides. Freedom is the fertile ground where things finally, effortlessly begin to align. The moment you truly loosen your grip, you begin to see just how much of your precious life force you have been holding hostage with rigid expectations. You were trying to control the timeline of your healing, demanding that your heart mend on a schedule that your ego deemed appropriate. You were trying to predict when love should enter your life, creating checklists and criteria instead of simply becoming a vessel for it. You were micromanaging your future, believing that you needed every single step perfectly mapped out, suffocating the very magic that life wanted to offer you. And you must see, all of that control was never peace. It was pressure, it was anxiety disguised as productivity. It was a heavy spiritual armor that was exhausting you, preventing your soul from soaring. Let me ask you this, and be truly honest with yourself. Have you ever finally, completely given up on controlling something? Not with bitterness, but with a deep, soul-weary surrender. A moment where you threw your hands up to the heavens and said, "I can't force this anymore. I release it." And then, in the silence that followed, out of absolutely nowhere, something infinitely better arrived. That job you were chasing, the one that you were convinced was your only path, suddenly dissolves, and a week later, an opportunity you couldn't have even dreamed of lands in your lap. That person you kept trying to fix, whose potential you were determined to unlock, finally walks away, and in the space they leave, you find a profound peace and a self-love you had forgotten existed. That version of success you were forcing, the one that made you feel worthy in the eyes of others, crumbles, and in its place, you discover a passion that sets your soul on fire, a path that feels like coming home. The moment you let go, it is as if life itself heaves a sigh of relief and says, "Finally, thank you. Now I can show you what I had in store for you all along." Here is what most people miss in their relentless pursuit of control. It severely limits your vision. It narrows your focus down to a tiny pinhole, allowing you to see only what your fear-based mind believes is possible. It keeps you staring at one locked door, completely oblivious to the grand, ornate gate that has swung open just to your left. You're so focused on your plan, your timeline, your expected outcome, that you become blind to the infinite other pathways the universe is trying to show you. But when you let go of controlling the how and the when, you open the door to outcomes you literally could not have imagined. Your perception expands. You become available to divine surprises, and you must know these surprises are almost always the most aligned, most joyful, and most transformative parts of our journey. Letting go is not an act of resignation, it is an act of expansion. It is a powerful declaration to the universe that says, "I have done my part, I have set my intention, I have taken the aligned action. And now I am open, I am allowing life to do its part." You don't just sit back passively, you move with clarity, not control. You trust that what is meant for you is already navigating its way to you through the quantum field, and your only job is to remain open enough to let it in without strangling it with a new set of expectations. And strangely, once you begin to operate from this sacred place of trust, once you believe that things are working out for your highest good even when you can't see the evidence, you gain a new and unshakable kind of power. It's a calm, grounded, and deeply resonant confidence. It's not the brittle confidence that comes from having everything figured out, but the resilient, authentic confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to. You know what's truly wild? The universe isn't waiting for your meticulously crafted timeline. It's not scrolling through your to-do list or checking your 5-year plan. It is responding to your state of being, not your schedule. And that is precisely why the less you try to force things into place, the more they seem to magically, effortlessly fall into place on their own. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. Most of us don't truly want control. We want certainty. We crave the comfort of knowing how things will play out, who will stay, what the outcome will be. But control is just the illusion we chase to avoid the profound discomfort of uncertainty. And here is the ultimate paradox. The more you chase certainty through control, the more unstable and anxious you feel. Think about how often your attempts at control have actually backfired. You overthink a text message, trying to craft the perfect response, and it comes off as cold, calculated, or inauthentic. You micromanage a creative project, and you stifle the very spark of intuition and genius that was needed to make it extraordinary. You obsess over results, checking the scale, the bank account, the analytics every single day, and you completely miss the quiet, subtle signs of progress that are already happening all around you. But when you loosen the grip, when you give life a little bit of breathing room, your entire energy shifts. You become more magnetic. People feel safer around you because they don't feel the pressure of your expectations. Ideas come to you more naturally because your mind is not cluttered with worry. Even time itself seems to bend and stretch in your favor because you are no longer in a constant state of resistance. The less you control, the more you simply observe. And when you are in observer mode, you catch the subtle whispers of the universe, the synchronicities, the divine guidance you couldn't see before because you were too busy trying to shout over it with your own plans. You start to hear the unspoken needs behind people's silence. You see the next step on your path appear, not because you planned it, but because you allowed space for it to be revealed. This is not about becoming passive, it is about being precise with your energy. You no longer waste it on forcing things that aren't meant for you. Instead, you protect your peace. You preserve your curiosity, and most importantly, you let life meet you halfway instead of trying to drag everything and everyone to the finish line all by yourself. Here's something nobody tells you. When you stop over managing life, you start partnering with it. We are conditioned to believe that if we don't have a tight grip on everything, it will all fall apart. That if we aren't constantly adjusting, worrying, planning, and controlling, we will lose the chance, the person, the dream. But here's what actually happens when you release that grip. The world doesn't fall apart. You just stop being the one desperately trying to hold all the pieces together. You begin to operate from trust, not tension. And that single shift is everything. Because control is rooted in fear. It's a survival instinct dressed up as productivity. But trust is rooted in presence, in awareness, in a quiet confidence that even if you don't have all the answers right now, life has a rhythm, and it is infinitely smarter than your strategy. When you control less, you become more open. You become open to the idea that your plan may not be the only path, and likely not even the best one. You become open to the moments that feel off track, but are actually divine redirections. You become open to people who surprise you, to conversations that shift your entire way of thinking, to chances you would have never dared to take if you had stayed trapped in the illusion of control. And that openness? That is the access point to flow. That is the reason some people seem lucky, while others feel perpetually stuck. It's not luck, it is surrender. It is the conscious decision to move from force to alignment, to stop pushing and start allowing. Not because you are weak, but because you are finally wise enough to know that life moves best when you don't stand in its way. There is a strange and beautiful strength in letting go. Not the reckless kind that throws its hands in the air and gives up, but the sacred kind that trusts so deeply it no longer needs to cling. The kind that whispers to the universe, I don't need to know how this story ends to keep walking with faith. We often assume that control is the price of success, that the more we tighten the bolts and micromanage the process, the closer we'll get to what we want. But reality works on its own divine terms. The more you try to dominate it, the more it resists. It's like trying to hold water tightly in your fist. It just slips through. But let it rest on your open palm, and it stays. This is what happens in our relationships, in our careers, in our creativity. The need to control pushes things away. It suffocates growth. When you need someone to act a certain way, when you need your project to unfold exactly as imagined, when you grip every timeline and every outcome, you are broadcasting a frequency to life that says, I don't trust you. And that energy, people feel it. The universe feels it, and it responds in kind. But when you ease up, when you release your white-knuckled grip on how things should go, things start to move. People feel safe around you. Ideas come easier. Momentum builds. And ironically, what you wanted from control in the first place, the peace, the success, the connection starts showing up, not because you forced it, but because you made room for it. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means growing up. It's a spiritual maturity that says, I'll do my part, and I will allow space for life to do its part too. It's that beautiful paradox: the less you control, the more happens for you. Not instantly, not always how you pictured it, but often in a way that is far better than you could have ever imagined, because it's not just coming from your limited mind, it's coming through divine alignment. And that's where real transformation begins. Let's get real about why this works. It's not some fluffy self-help idea. It's psychology, energy, and behavior. The need to control often stems from a deep-seated fear of losing something, fear of not being enough, fear that if we don't grip tight, things will fall apart. But ironically, this fear becomes the very thing that blocks our progress. When you're desperate to control every outcome, you're no longer creating, you're surviving. You're operating from a state of tension and reactivity, and people can feel that, even if they don't know how to name it. But when you operate from trust, when your actions come from a place of grounded self-assurance rather than frantic control, you create magnetism. You become someone who others want to follow, collaborate with, or simply be around. You become someone who radiates a calm authority instead of chaos. You start to notice that the world opens up to you in small, miraculous ways. People respond better. You find flow in your work. Unexpected opportunities start showing up. Why? Because the frantic grasping is gone. You've stepped into presence. There's a reason athletes talk about being in the zone. It's not about more effort, it's about focus without force. It's about surrendering to the moment, not overthinking, not micromanaging every move. And that's when they perform at their absolute best. You don't need to control every outcome to move forward. You need to focus on your input, your energy, your intention, your aligned action, and let go of the attachment to the result. Let your work speak, let your energy speak, let your presence do the heavy lifting. The moment you stop over-managing your life and start participating in it fully, without attachment, everything begins to align. The pressure softens, but the results become more powerful. Not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. Now here's something most people don't realize. Control often disguises itself as responsibility. It's easy to convince yourself that micromanaging every detail means you're being committed, driven, or ambitious. But in truth, that kind of control can quickly turn into a trap, because instead of moving forward with clarity, you're just spinning your wheels, exhausting yourself with every possible what if. Here's where things get truly powerful. When you stop forcing life into your timeline, you start aligning with its rhythm. And the rhythm of life doesn't care about your calendar or your constant planning. It rewards presence, clarity, and trust. That's when things start showing up faster than you ever imagined, but only once you get out of your own way. Think about it like this. If you're trying to grow a plant, you don't keep digging it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. But when it comes to our goals, our relationships, or our self-worth, we are constantly digging up the plant, over-analyzing, second-guessing, and over-planning because we're afraid it won't work unless we stay on top of every single detail. But the truth is, life doesn't thrive under constant surveillance. It thrives in trust. And when you start trusting more, you start seeing the real difference between controlling and creating. Controlling is rooted in fear, creating is rooted in alignment. One drains your energy, the other builds momentum. This shift in mindset doesn't mean you stop putting in the effort, it means you stop strangling the outcome. You let your actions come from a place of confidence rather than fear. And that small shift, it changes how people respond to you. It changes how opportunities show up. It changes how you feel inside lighter, sharper, more magnetic. Because the moment you stop needing to control everything, you realize something profound. You never needed to. The world doesn't respond to your grip. It responds to your energy. And the most powerful energy you can offer is one of calm, certain, and aligned presence. Here's the irony. The moment you finally let go is usually the moment it all starts coming together. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped gripping so tightly. You stopped clenching your fist around outcomes, and instead, you opened yourself up to receive. That's when synchronicities begin. That's when people notice a different energy in you, one that doesn't scream desperation or control, but quiet confidence and clarity. The shift is subtle, but the results are massive. You speak with more intention. You act with more ease. You stop needing constant reassurance because you found a deeper trust not just in life, but in yourself. And when that trust takes root, you don't chase, you attract. Not by doing less, but by finally doing things from a place of peace instead of pressure. This isn't about giving up. It's about giving into the flow, to the bigger picture, to the idea that things are always moving, even when you don't see them. The less you control, the more you notice just how much is working for you behind the scenes. Now, if this message has hit something in you, if it made you reflect even just a bit, drop the word flow in the comments. Let's see how many of us are done forcing and ready to start trusting. And if you're part of that shift, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and stay locked in for the next one. You're not alone on this path. Let's keep walking it together.